Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Corey Rosen, and you're listening to the Story Podcast. Today, I have on a super awesome guest, Mr. Kevin Gannon.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, along with being a member of MOE Blues, Kevin Gannon is also a founder of a Lancaster County 501c3, 501c, created in January 2015 called Musicians Bedside Manor. Along with Kevin, original founders were Lisa Sica, Adriano Sica, and Beverly Reed. The idea is for local musicians to share their time and talent with people who are not able to get out and experience live music themselves. Kevin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, Corey. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, uh, you have had a long time in the music industry. I know that from just knowing you and having a quick chat beforehand. So, where did it all start for you?
Well, growing up in Philadelphia, I used to listen to a radio station called WXPN, and they had a thing on there that they kept advertising called Musicians on Call. And they're in major cities: Philadelphia, Dallas, New York, LA, and Houston. And what they do is they go around to hospitals and retirement communities and they play music for people who can't get out. And I thought, what a wonderful idea. Lancaster needs that.
Mm.
So in 2015, we were sitting around one day, and Bev, my girl, we lived together, and we kicked it around. We thought, this is something we should do. So we got with Adriano and Lisa, and we put this together at their dinner table. And we reached out to Steve Davis, who's a local musician in town, and he did our logo for us. And Lisa did our 501c, send it off, so we're legal. And then it started, and started to make phone calls to local retirement communities and LGH, and said, "Look, this is what we have. It's no charge to you. We have a pool of volunteers who will come in and play music for your residents," and it just took off. Here we are in 2023. Of course, we had the two-year hiccup, and we're just now getting it back on track. But talk about when we got it started, the call for local musicians blew my mind, because we just put it out there on Facebook and said, "Hey, look, man, we got this little thing going on. If you're interested, hit us up." And it blew up. I mean, the local musicians in town, this local community scene is incredible. I mean, when you need something, they're there. We've had, no lie, 50 to 60 people volunteer their time and talent to this program. And then again, like I said, we had the hiccup. So we're just starting to get it back. And Katie, who you had in here, Katie, I can never say her last name. Sorry,
Adriano.
Katie. Yep. Mark Boyd, Joe Segan, Joe.
Nice.
Yep. So these are the guys who showed up now, and we're going to bring it back. We've already started doing Quarryville Presbyterian Home. And what they do there is they bring them into a sunshine room, anywhere between 15 and 30 of them, residents, and the musicians get to do their thing. And Corey, I'll tell you, when we started this program, it was like, wow, what we're going to do for people. This is great. The first time we did it, we walked out of there and went, what they did for us
Right.
was great, because they wheel them in. They wheel the residents in, and they're waiting for us. And, it takes time to get them all in. And they could be like this.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as that music starts, they're up, they are tapping, their feet are going.
They become alive.
It's a transformation.
Yeah.
And to see that for the first time, we walked out of there and we were like, holy mackerel. We thought we
Tears,
were
right,
here
yeah.
for them, but look what they did for us. And the reward for that was amazing. So that's how it all got started. And Bev and Katie and Mark are out there, and Joe are out there on Saturdays at 10 o'clock in the morning, giving their time and talent. It's a really cool thing to watch.
It's incredible. Yeah.
It's a really cool thing.
So, you said you have over 50.
We've had well over 50 musicians come volunteer their time and talent throughout 2015?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was amazing. It's amazing. And we even had bands who went up, like Steel Radiance had went up, and they played for the veterans up in Lebanon.
Oh, wow.
We would go out and play for the veterans. It's just a really cool thing to do. And believe it or not, I did get pushback, from
Really?
people. I did get pushback. That is a money making thing out there, which I wasn't aware of, playing retirement homes and stuff.
Yeah.
So I may have stepped on toes doing that. But you know what? I'm all about volunteering. I'm all about giving back to the community.
Yeah, and
Um,
especially at that age, it's like
yeah, I mean,
they've sacrificed, however much for their younger generation. What more can we do than give back?
well, hey, when you get in a retirement home, I hope someone comes in and plays for me,
Oh, I
man.
hope so. Yeah, I hope so. Because and that's just the thing of like the elderly. The American culture doesn't have much respect for the elderly.
Not
Uh, and so what more can you do than go into a place and remind them of their youth and play some Beatles or some
right.
Frank Sinatra songs and
Speaking of
yeah.
Beatles, man, we were at, I think it was out at the Manor nursing home, and Albert Von Schaft, who was the lead guitar player in MOE Blues up until this year, heck of a guitar player. Um, he volunteered and he went out there and he does Beatles, acoustic Beatles. And this woman, Corey, sat there, and as soon as he started to play the Beatles, she stood up and got next to him and knew every word.
Oh
Knew
wow.
knew every word. It's on Facebook on our Facebook page. That's on there. And she stayed and she do another Beatles song. She knew every word. Another Beatles song, knew every word. And when he didn't do a Beatles song, she'd go back and sit down. Beatles was her trigger. It was wild. And then we had Stephen Courtney, who does the
Yes.
children's music. So I mean, like, the elders are sort of
You still
children,
know him, yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So he fit right in. There's video of him, and he gets the whole place up dancing. I mean, like, a party broke out. Like, we were afraid of broken hips. We were like,
Oh
everyone
no.
sit down. But yeah, like, if you go on and see some of the video that we have on our Facebook page on Musicians Bedside Manor, the transformations are incredible.
That's incredible because I know we had Katie on and we talked about that music is the only thing that lights up the entire brain and
How about that?
yeah, how about that, right? The only thing.
When she said that, I was like, Google.
Yeah, yeah, right, right.
Wow.
Right. And she was mentioning how like dementia patients won't remember anything, but once they put on one of their favorite songs, they know every single word and they'll sing along and
Exactly.
they know exactly what's going
We
on.
have a video on our Facebook page, and it's a national thing where they would bring Walkmans when the Walkmans were big. They were asking to volunteer, donate your Walkmans
Mm.
for retirement communities. And they would put a tape in and put the earplugs on while the guy's in bed. There's a video of it on our Facebook page. And he's in bed, comatose. And they put the headphones on him, and he becomes alive.
Like he gets kicked out.
It's
And that's
yo,
incredible.
it's music is powerful.
I know.
Music is. I mean, how many times have you heard a song that takes you right back from what day you heard it? And
Oh
I'm
yeah.
62, so it goes back a ways. And I still remember, though. I still remember where I heard that song and what I was doing. I mean, music's powerful.
It is. The first time I heard Shania Twain's "Man, I want to be man." Oh, what is it? Man, I would something a woman. Man, I feel like a woman. There it is.
There you go.
Uh, greatest song that I've ever heard for a long while, and I was at a wedding when I first heard it. It makes me dance every single time.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, growing up, where I'm a Delco kid. Shout out to Delmar Village in Collingdale. Growing up in Delco, which is a suburb of Philly, when we were in our teens, we were hooligans, and we used to have parties, and we had older heads and younger heads. Like, our older heads were like our brothers,
Right.
who were like maybe 3 or 4 years older than us, and they always used to have parties on Friday and Saturdays. So you used to stand out in front of their party, and hopefully you got called in. It was like Studio 54. And so one day I got called in. I got invited to the Big Heads party, man. Dude, they put on a song. It changed my whole life that night. Put on a song, and I'm sitting there, and I look at my friend Tommy Ward. I'm like, who is this? And he said, this is the Jay Giles Band.
Mm.
Listen to me. I went out the next day, and I bought that album and a C harmonica. And I'm like, I'm going to learn this. And that changed everything. That day, I still remember it. it was like 4th of July weekend. And that's what got me playing harmonica. And that's what turned me from classic rock. You know, I was 15, 16, the long hair, listening to Zeppelin. And that turned me to blues. You know, when I look at the Zeppelin album and I see who's M. Wooders, you know, who is
Who's
that?
Muddy Waters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it all started to come together. Oh, wait a minute. These guys didn't write this. This is, so that turned me on to the blues, which changed everything.
It's really funny how over the show how many hair metal band people get. There seems to be a pipeline. You're a hair metal band person, and then you go into blues.
Right.
There seems to be a pipeline there.
Well, hey, listen, my first concert, I told you my sister took me, my sister Kathleen took me to the Spectrum in Philadelphia. I was 10 years old. 1971, Black Sabbath. It was the third time they played in the U.S. That night pretty much changed everything. And then, you know, like I said, I was all into the, you know, the Deep Purple, the Led Zeppelin, you know, growing up. I was the guy who always brought the albums to the parties, you know. But then Jay Giles, that just, it flipped it, you know. That's when Muddy Waters started to come in and all the, you know, Howlin' Wolf and learning about that. And then that changed it. That changed my whole listening style right there that day.
So you picked up a harmonica. Did you start performing with it, or
No, I didn't. You know what? I didn't perform until I moved out here.
really?
Until I was in 50s. Yeah, I was your basement harmonica player, man. Like at a keg party, woohoo! You know that guy. Yeah, never performed. But when I got out here, I went to North Dakota for 4 years. I don't know why, but I went to North Dakota for 4 years. I don't know how anyone lives out there, but anyway, I came back and I got an apartment in Willow Street, and it was a snowstorm, and I'm shoveling out, and there was this girl shoveling her car out, and I'm like, hey, you know, you need help, and we got to talking, and it was Bev, and she lived in the apartment across the road from me, and she says, hey, I know a guy. I hear you playing harmonica. I know a guy who plays piano.
Mm.
Why don't you hook up? So I hooked up with this guy, Adriano Sica. He's from Italy, and he was an Elvis impersonator too,
Oh wow!
from Italy. Dude, the cat is cool. So anyway, he has his own show playing the piano and had me come up and play. And I started to sit in the background and just, you know, play around. Now I jump around, I get on the bar, you can't stop me. But, you know, that's how it all started. Yeah, back in Delco, listening to Jay Giles and the harmonica started. But yeah, I didn't start playing until open mics out here. My first open mic out here is when things started to, okay, I think I could do this. You know, I still didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing, but if you give off enough energy,
It translates. Yeah.
it translates. So, yeah, and that's how it all started. And Bev got me into with this guy, and this guy. Then I started to learn and see how you book a band, see how what you're supposed to do, your etiquette on stage. See what you know. Learned, open my eyes and learn. And he told me one day, man, he goes, dude, you need to go back to the drawing table, man.
Mm.
Like, you know, it's repetitive. And at 55, you could have taken that two ways. You know, the heck with you, or you know what,
Do it.
I'm going to learn. So I had an apartment above a garage, and I would come home from work, and I would lock myself in my apartment for 3 hours, and I would put on YouTube, and I would put on Adam Goosehow, who was from Satan and Adam, and I would learn. And for 3 months, you know, I learned how to actually somewhat learn how to play a harmonica, you know, which I didn't know anything once I started listening to them. You know, like there's 17 notes in the first four holes.
Right.
I didn't know that, you know. I don't even know how you get 17 notes out of four holes, you know. So you got, you know, you got to learn how to bend the reeds and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, and I really opened my eyes, like, hey man, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know what I'm doing here. But then I got to play with some open mic guys, and you know, they took me under their wing and said, hey, you know, do this, try this, and here we are today. You know, owe a lot to Albie. You know, Albie showed me a lot. You know, Albie's been there with me every step of the way. But we got our band today is we got a new guitar player, a new drummer, and we're off to the races. And We got a full schedule again this year, which we weren't going to do this year, but it ended up being full again, and we're booked all the way through December.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's really incredible. It's right, and not to have to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
You know, that was a big plus. You know, people calling you, hey, are you available this date? Hey, are you available for that date? Yeah. That's when it takes a lot of pressure off. You know, trying to keep everybody busy.
Right. Well, even doing that, you also made your way into some of the music business side of.
I did. I was working for a freight company out in Middletown, and I left that after 20 something years with one company. I worked for them in Philadelphia for a while, and then I went out to Middletown and worked for them out there. And I quit that job to go into a venue on Prince Street. We're not going to go into a whole lot of that. And that didn't work out. And so now I'm unemployed after working since I was like 15 years old. Now what? Sitting home one day, sitting in my apartment, phone rings. Hey, buddy, we hear you want to work at Rock Lidditz. Corey, never heard of the place, didn't know what it was, but I know I needed to eat. And I'm like, yep, I'll be there. And like, okay, there'll be a van in the back. The keys will be in the visor. Go to the Marriott. You're going to pick up somebody. Don't talk to them or look at them. Okay. Go to the Marriott. Guys get in. I go to, and it was for heavy rock stars sitting in the back seat. And they were like, so what's this place like? And I'm like, I don't know. I've never even been in it yet.
I just got here.
Yeah. So I worked for Rock Lidditz for a while, and that was fun. That was so much fun. But what happened was they had to shut it down for a while to do some renovations or whatever, and I couldn't wait 6 months to go to work. So I ended up at Clare Brothers out in Mannheim, and I worked out there for 10 years, and then the pandemic hit. And I got laid off, and I went to Tate. And I was at the Tate for, I don't even know if it was a year, and the drive killed me. Corey, the drive, I got old, and the drive started to kill me. So I got out of that. I got closer to home, 12 minutes from work now. But incredible stuff, I mean, that I saw. And I mean, for the first year of the Roots and Blues show, right? I get Deb Guy, who is the person who's in charge of all the volunteers, come up to me and go, you need to go to the Philly airport. I'm like, what?
Right.
I'm like, this is the first one. I'm going to miss everybody. What are you talking about? She goes, no, we need you to go to the Philly airport and pick somebody up. And I'm like, Deb, come on, man. Isn't there nobody else you can get? And she goes, trust me, you're going to want to do this. So I'm like, who is it? James Cotton. Bah! Bah! Where's the keys?
Right.
I go down and pick up James Cotton. I have a 2-hour ride back with him and his wife.
That's incredible.
And they asked me, will you be our person the whole weekend? So I got to hang with this guy who I listened to at 15 years old, who I was trying to learn or practice, Yeah. And here I'm driving, and they invited me and Bev down to their Austin home.
Wow.
Yeah, man. It was so that was year one of Roots and Blues. And I'm like, this is it.
Cool, yeah.
It's in our backyard. How can you not be involved in this? And I got to meet some very, very cool musicians, man, through Roots and Blues, hey, I worked at Clare Brothers. When I worked at Clare Brothers, Roy Clare was tight with Yes.
Yeah, they just had Yes.
Right?
Here, yeah.
So Yes wouldn't go to Rock Lidditz to rehearse. They would rehearse in our warehouse.
Really?
I was the warehouse guy. So all their packages would come to me, and anything they needed to ship, they'd come to me. So they came to me and said, hey, look, man, we don't have wheels. Can you come pick us up? Dude, I took them to an open mic at Telus.
No way.
I took Jeff Downs and Alan White, who just died,
Yeah.
to Telus to an open mic. Yeah.
That's so cool.
And they were very cool. So every time they're in town, they give me and Bev a call. Hey, we're in town. Here's 2 tickets. Same thing with U2's manager, Rocco Reddy. U2's manager. Anytime he comes into town, he gives me and Bev a call. hey, come on in, man. Pick me up. I'm at the airport, or pick me up. I'm at the hotel. And so I got to meet some. I mean, who would have thought this? 10 years old watching Black Sabbath. Here I am in my 50s and 60s now. Hanging out with these guys. Very cool. So the music scene out here is second to none.
Oh, it's incredible.
Even coming from Philly to here, this I'd rather be here.
Yeah, right. It's so much more authentic, I feel.
It is. It's real.
It's real. Yeah, there's a real scene out here as opposed to New York or LA or wherever else.
And there's no pretentious.
There's no politics.
Right. No matter what it is you are, when you walk in that room, you're just a musician.
You're a musician.
And listen, I don't consider myself a musician at all. I'm not. I have a full-time job. You are what's on your taxes.
Right. Yeah.
So, but for the level of volunteer that you get out here, and people who just, hey, what do you need?
Yeah.
What do you need? I'll help you out. It's incredible. I mean, for musicians, we had Mike Steele. We used to go up from Musicians Bedside Manor up to a place in Stevens, PA. And Mike was one of the first volunteers we had. And here's the downside to going in to the old people or the elderly people, is you get to know them. And then when you go back one day and they're not there.
Yeah.
So Mike used to have this guy, Sonny, Corey, man. This cat was cool. He was old. He was in his wheelchair, but he always knew when Mike was coming. And he'd sit in his hallway, sit in his doorway, waiting for him. Mike used to play this song for him called King of the Road. King of the Road.
Yeah.
That was Sonny's line. He'd get to that thing and Sonny would belt out, King of the Road. Well, we went back one day and we're like, where's Sonny at? He's not. And they're like, Sonny's not with us no more. And it was like, so that's the downside of that part. You do get this sort of, you see these guys every 2 weeks and they're waiting for you. You are their day.
Yeah.
You're their day. Even now that we started back up, we're at Willow Valley, and Willow Valley is different. We go room to room.
Oh wow, that's nice.
Right, so it's personal.
Yeah.
You're in there with one other person.
Right.
We had these people with our first time there. They have scooters, and they would follow Katie.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Pretty soon, like one room's got like 4 people in it.
That's funny.
Yeah, but they love it. They love it, and when you're leaving, they're like, "When you coming back?" And that's the hard part, because you got to leave. That's the hard part.
That's so.
Because you're there whole week. You're like, when you coming back? When you coming back? Oh, but it's some really good stuff. And listen, if anyone wants to get involved in this, not only are we looking for musicians, but we like to do chaperones too. We always like to have 2 people in a room.
Yes.
We would like to have the musician, and even if you want to sing with the musician or whatever, we like to have 2 people. So you don't have to be a musician to get involved with this. If you want to be a chaperone and say, hey, look, I would like to follow a musician around, from room to room for an hour, please give us a call. Go on our Facebook page and hit us up, because we'd love to have you.
And if anything, you're going to be able to have a conversation with someone who's probably hasn't seen somebody else besides their nurse.
Right.
For a very long time.
Right. And sometimes it gets sketchy. It gets sketchy. They don't know who you are. They're asking for their food, and you're like, well, hey, I'm not here. So you got to know. That's why I always like to have 2 people.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. 2 people for elderly and for kids. Yep.
Just a buffer, because it can get sketchy sometimes.
Yeah.
And God forbid someone falls or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm bouncing all over the place.
No, it's good. It's fine. It sounds like you need a website.
I know, right? I'm not good with any of that, man. I'm not good with my band doesn't have a website. I'm not good computer stuff, man, at all.
We'll figure that out.
All right.
I'll help you out with that one, because that's a good cause. That definitely needs a website.
Yeah, it's and we enjoy doing it, and right now we've only went back to 2 places, because I didn't want to go
full force,
and then not have the volunteers. I needed to go out to the places. So right now we're in 2 places. It's pretty comfortable. And what I tell you, what I really like to do is, if you would want to volunteer, like Mark Boyd has a place that he turned me on to that we should go talk talk to see if they want to do this. Well, I would like Mark to take that. That's your baby.
Okay, so
You book that room.
yeah. You want to give
You
like
do that.
governors a little
You
bit.
know, if you want to do so and so ABC retirement home, take that.
Yeah.
That's your baby. I'll go set it up for you. I'll get it all squared away. All you're going to have to do is show up. Yeah, that's what I would really like to do. If we're going to expand it, because I can't be
You
everywhere.
want to decentralize it.
Yeah,
Which
and
is
I have a control issue where, like, if I'm not there, I'm always thinking, what the heck is going on over there?
right,
You know what I
right.
mean? But I got to let that go.
delegate.
That's my thing, is to delegate and let people do what they can do.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh.
because they're very capable of doing it. They've shown it to me, but I just have that.
No,
You know?
I understand. That's one of the things I had to learn in Boy Scouts was to delegate.
Yeah.
Because if it's not done my way, it ain't done right, right?
Right?
But you got to be able to trust your team.
Yeah. And I do. It's just that, my head's always somewhere else.
Oh, right.
Like, I hope everything's okay. I hope everything's going good. But I'm working on that, and hopefully in 2023 we'll be able to expand, and I'll let people just be able to take that and have it as their baby and do what they want with it.
It's good. It's good. Gosh, where else will you start? So you've had all of these wonderful crazy experiences. Who do you think? What is what is one of the funniest things that ever happened to you in regards to, like, you've had your shows that you've met all these wonderful people from Rock Lettuce, Claire Audio, etc. What's one of the funniest things that you can remember?
Well, I could give you a MOE Blues story.
All right.
All right. So we were out playing one time, and John Brown was playing with us, who is our lead guitar player now. He was playing with us, and he was going to end with Purple Rain. I was like, okay, go ahead. I'll start breaking my stuff down. All right. So he's jamming, man. People are digging it. It's outside, a nice crowd. And I'm back there getting my gear together. And here it comes, Corey. Doo-doo-doo. Boom. Wrong plug, man.
Oh no,
Corey, wrong plug.
no.
John Brown looked like Linda Blair. His head spun, and I have the cord in my hand, man. I'm like, it was like, thank you, good night, man. See ya. Yeah, I still hear that. Matter of fact, I heard it at the last gig we were at. Yeah, don't you unplug anything. Stay away from the cords. Let me see. As far as working at Claire, I mean, working with Yes was probably my biggest thing there. Talking with Alan White. I mean, Alan White he was on John Lennon's stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he was a jokester. Like, he would make a fake package and for me and bring it back and say, there's nothing in here, and
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But yeah, so that was always, I don't have any funny stories about that. It was always just a good time with them guys. Rocco Reedy, who is U2's manager, he came down to the Sandwich Factory open mic and played guitar. I have that on somewhere. I could post that. Yeah. And no one knew who he was. He was just the manager,
Right.
had long hair, and just thought it was a dude I brought and got out and played guitar with Albie and a couple guys. And yeah, so, I mean, that kind of stuff I always look back on, man. I mean, that was and it's right here in Lancaster, I mean, it's right here.
So you've done all these things. What are some things you still want to do?
I want to have my own radio show.
Tell me about it.
I have the whole thing mapped out in my head. Listen, I was in the Navy. I joined the Navy in 1979 because I had nothing else to do. I graduated high school. I was a bum. I wasn't going anywhere. Let's go to the Navy, right?
Right.
Let's go see the world. So I did. I got halfway around the world twice.
That's kind of cool.
So I got to see a lot of things. I think that's more education you could get in a book.
Oh, absolutely. Going somewhere.
I mean, I live with this Korean family, Corey. We got to Korea, Busan, Korea, and it was cold. And they had like one of them outdoor festivals, like not festivals, carnivals for kids, with the rides and all that. And I don't speak Korean, and they didn't speak English, but I could tell the kid wanted to go to the carnival. He's pestering his dad, and I could tell the dad's telling him they ain't got no money. Well, dude, I got a pocket full of money. I just came in off of leave, off of shore for 30 days. I got months, so I walked up to him. I'm like, "Look, I'll take this." I'm like, "Me, I'll take his all." I had to live with him for like 6 days. They didn't speak English. I didn't speak Korean, but we communicated.
Yeah.
For 6 days. I mean, so yeah, it was stuff like that. Like you'll never experience that.
Right. There's no book to tell you how to communicate with somebody
Australia.
else.
Been to Australia, twice, and
it's slightly easier to communicate there.
Very easy. As soon as you cross the equator, you flush the toilet to watch it stop and go the other way.
Oh, that's
that was the biggest thing. But yeah, man. So I experienced a lot of stuff growing up, and then got into the music scene out here, and just fell in love with it, and wanted to be a part of it.
And you want to do a radio show?
And I want to do a radio show. So I got out of the Navy, and all the money I had, I put into this company that was in Philadelphia at the time. It was like CBS Radio, And so I went there, gave them all my cash, and I still remember I did a Maxwell House commercial, and for old heads. And they were like, "Yo, you're accepted." Cool, man. I went there like 3 times. I would take the train into town every like Wednesday night. I would go in there, and then on the 4th time I went back, and it was locks on the door, man. It was like a fly-by-night. So they got everything from me, man. So now I'm 23 with nothing.
Right.
I'm living with my brother and his family, but that's my passion. I would love, listen, I already know, I have the whole thing mapped out in my head because I've been doing it in my head for 40 years. I know what my intro song would be. I know what I would play. I have guests, what they wanted to listen to, or what influenced them, play that stuff. I've always wanted to do radio. Always, always, always. I grew up with John DeBella and the Morning Zoo in Philadelphia, but yeah, that was my passion, and still is my passion. I want to do a radio show.
We're gonna get that hooked up.
Oh,
we're gonna get that hooked up for you.
That would be great.
I believe in you. We're gonna get that. We'll do it. We'll do it.
He believes in me.
I do.
There's one person out there.
We're gonna get. I'm gonna hook you up with some of that.
Yeah, but that's definitely something I would love to do. And I have this other idea, crazy idea, of if you ever saw the Tiny Desk concerts on YouTube, they go into this. It's NPR does it.
Yes.
And they go into this office and they play music and film it and put it on YouTube. I want to do that. I want to film it with Frank from LCTV 66. We're going to get our own YouTube channel for it, and we're going to hopefully do it. I don't want to say where in case it never comes
happens.
about,
Yep.
But we have a place in mind where we want to do this, and it will be a paid gig. And what we're trying to do is get sponsors for the show, so it doesn't come out of my pocket all the time. Like I said, it would be a paid gig. We would put it up on YouTube. The artist would be able to steal it off of YouTube for promotional stuff. It would be on the local cable station here, LCTV 66, which goes out to 10,000 people. So that's my next thing. What we used to do, Frank and me partnered up during the pandemic, and we went out to this record store out in Columbia called Retro Rocks Records. And I'll tell you, the owners out there, they opened their door. Like, we had nowhere to play. No one had anywhere to play. So I'm like, "Look, man, why don't you open up your doors? I'll film it. We'll give you free publicity every week." Or once a month we did it. Once a month, we'll give you free publicity. And they were like, "We're in." So I started to call musicians and say, "Hey, look, man, they ain't a paid gig, but we'll put it up on YouTube. You can steal it for promotion." Man, people were like, "I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it." We did it for 2 years. Yeah. We did it for 2 years.
Getting stuff for publicity is the hardest thing for musicians.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And then not only that, like on weekends we had nowhere to play, so I built a stage out back of my house. and musicians would come play there. And we'd on a Saturday night, we'd have 50 to 60 people, pass a bucket around, band walk out with several $100,
Yeah.
and we had somewhere to play, and it was outdoors, and it was. So I'm always got something going on, always thinking about how can we push the local music a little bit further, a little bit, and like I said, the people that I met, the musicians here, the promoters here, the people who own these companies, they're us. They're just us.
Yeah, there's people.
You go up and talk to them.
Yeah.
And I'm a big network guy. Hey, I know so-and-so who knows so-and-so who knows so-and-so who might be able to help you.
Right.
And that's what this business is all about.
Oh, exactly. If you're a musician and know nobody, you ain't going
You're
nowhere.
going nowhere.
You're going nowhere fast.
Nowhere fast. Yeah. And, but yeah, the community here that I love.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do.
It's so much so that there's literally a nonprofit music for everyone right here.
Yes.
They do amazing
Who
stuff.
does amazing stuff.
Amazing stuff.
I mean, what they do for school. They gave me my first PA system for Musicians Bedside Manor.
Wow.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yes. They were like, you need to put in for a grant so we can help you. I'm like, what are you talking about? And John Gertie. I met John Gertie, fellow harmonica player, was like, I'm in charge of it. Give me something and we'll help you out. They gave me a PA system, and they also gave us boxes of handheld shakers and stuff to hand out to the residents when we're there, so they could get involved.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, that's the community we live in.
Yeah.
It costs me nothing.
It's incredible what you can do around here with just the idea of music. Music is like central to the Lancaster culture.
Yes.
No matter what music you're a part of.
Yes. I mean, like for Rock Lidditz to call me out of nowhere, I don't even know to this day, I still don't know how they got my name. I don't know how they got my phone number. But someone put something in their ear because I said something or was around somebody, and they said, I know a guy.
Yeah.
And that's how it works. I know a guy.
It's literally that quite simple. You go out, you do your thing, you do it well. Someone else is going to mention, I know a guy.
I know a guy. It's really what it is.
I have to guess. Well, this is incredible for me now. But over a large part of my guests are people who have been recommended to me because they're like, oh, you want to do this? I know a guy.
Right.
That does that.
Well, we talked before, and if you don't mind me saying, you were talking about getting into promoting or putting on a show.
That's my next goal.
And listen, I know a guy.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to mention his name. Bruce Maladay took over the Lancaster Balloon Festival and the Philly Balloon Festival. He is now a promoter. That's what he does. Me and him hooked up. We worked well together. I put the bands on. He let me put the bands on in both venues. And he hit me up this week and said, let's get together. We need to start thinking about this year. I know a guy. There's the guy you should talk to. If that's what you want to do, you should work with him on these this year.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to do.
Right, and that's what we're going to make happen this year.
Exactly. We have some really big stuff for the Story Podcast this year. You guys don't even know stuff that I'm not allowed to say because it's unfortunately have to be secretive like that a little bit. We can't spoil surprises.
Keep it under your hat.
Keep it under wraps. Yeah, I can't.
Someone will steal it.
well, not only that, it's just none of these are concrete. So
still juggling.
Yeah, I'm always juggling. People think I know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing.
Me neither, man.
But we're doing it.
But you know what? You fake it till you make it.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? You fake it till you make it. That's my biggest motto in life, man.
Well, and you just do things. You don't
just do it.
Hey,
listen, I've been through so many things. Like I had this thing that we used to do with Millersville University. Somehow I hooked up with Millersville University. So networking, we came together. And we used to do a thing at the Stoner Bar, a Stoner Grill in the barn. It was called, the Barn Sessions. Steve Davis did me a beautiful logo. This was going to be something. It was like this, but it was an interview. And we would have the artist play 2 songs in the middle and 2 songs at the end. And it was TV, just like this. Millerville taped it. This was going to be a show. And first one I had was Cordy Byron. Second one I had was Songsmith, which is Steve Davis and Lynn Royer, and they went well. And I don't know what happened. It just never went anywhere after that. Like Millersville got involved with something. I think the venue couldn't do the when we needed it, and but them two are out there still on LCTV 66 or somewhere, and they were incredible. They were so well edited, put together. That's the stuff I like to do. I'd rather do stuff like that than actually perform.
That's the stuff I want to do. I'm. This is one of the crucial advices that I was given onto the show. Of was my dear friend Robert Bigley, one of my past professors. He said, he said effectively, stay in your lane. Don't be something you're not. And I like to perform. I'm not a performer. I'm not classically trained. People ask me, "Oh,
Me neither.
I'm not. I'm not, and nor do I have the time for that, given my work. Um, but he said, find what you're good at and do that.
Right.
Don't try to be. If you, I wanted to be a performer back in the day. I wanted to go on Broadway. I'm not. I can't sing. I can't dance. I can't.
You're with me.
How am I going to be on Broadway if I can't do any of those things, right? And
Find your niche.
yeah, find your niche. Yeah, and work your way into that and do that.
Hey, listen, and I started to put on shows with Mulberry Art Studio. April out there is wonderful. And my first show I put on, I learned a valuable lesson, dude. I mean, you learn things as you go along, and you will make people angry
Oh yes.
as you move along. And I deserved it because I knew nothing about putting on a show, Corey. I just grabbed a dude who I knew from Roots and Blues, which was Clarence Spady. I put on a show at Mulberry Art Studio, sold tickets, did pretty well. And there was a gentleman who came up to me and goes, "Can I have a word with you?" Sure. You bleepity bleep, 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 bleep. And I didn't know why. And I'm like, what's going on? He goes, I have this guy at my venue tomorrow. Right down the street, dude. Total no, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I killed this guy, and that wasn't this is what I was set out to do.
Right.
His agent never told me that he's got a gig tomorrow right down the street. I didn't do no research. I didn't do anything. I got this guy, sold tickets, put him in. Woohoo! I put on a show. Man, and Dave Costarella was the guy's name. And he had him down the street the next day. And I saw Dave a couple weeks ago, and I walked up to him. I'm like, you remember the first time we met? He says, absolutely.
Yes,
I do. And I'm like, I deserved everything that you told me that night. And now I learned.
Yeah.
Do some research. Where are you at the next couple of days? I can't have you within a 50-mile radius.
Mm-hmm.
If you're playing in Reading, maybe. But maybe. But dude, down the street.
No.
And this show has been on for a while, and then I come in, boom, I put him the night before. Ugh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. So you do learn, and I deserved every bit of what that man gave me that day.
Yeah, I am prepared for all the mistakes I'm going to make because I'm no perfect person either, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm going to learn on the way, and that's
fake it till you make it.
Well, yeah.
Just don't be afraid to do it.
Oh, I'm not afraid to do it. I'm afraid to fail, and I expect to fail.
Right.
In fact, actually, because if you don't fail, you don't learn.
Right.
And if you're not failing, you're not doing something.
You're not doing it right.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. You are faking it.
Right. You're completely faking it.
Right. And and criticism in your 50s and 60s isn't easy to come by. Isn't easy to take sometimes.
Oh no.
You're like, hey, I made it this far. Screw you. You've got to be a sponge. Take what everybody gives you and use what it is. Use what you can. Throw the rest away. And I wish you not. Listen, I listen to a lot of these. These are fantastic what you're doing here.
Thank you.
Another niche in Lancaster music is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I listen to them. I listen to them on my forklift at work when I'm unloading the truck. I got my Bose stereo there, and I drive and I hear what you're doing, and it's awesome. It's
Thank you.
awesome stuff.
I appreciate it. Let's get into some questions that I like to ask all my guests. We're kind of rounding out our time, unless you want to talk about anything else.
No, I think I've bounced off 4 walls in here, man. Been all over the place.
So, here's what's one thing that you know now that you wish you knew when you first started, and this can be anywhere related to music.
Don't bullcrap anybody, because they're gonna find out.
Oh yeah.
Be honest, even if they don't like it. People want to hear honesty, but not really.
Yeah, right.
So I've learned to be just blunt, upfront, and let it lay where it's going to lay.
Yeah, that's one thing I've been really good at is not beating around the bush, because no one likes beating around the bush.
Listen, I don't want to have to talk to you and figure out what it was I just said, what we just talked about.
Yeah, right.
I want to know when I left Corey. He told me there's no gray area. I know where Corey's coming from.
Yeah,
and that's what you get from me. But people don't like that. People like to be told what they want to hear.
Yeah, the thing that makes me the most mad is whenever I'll put it to this podcast, and this hasn't happened yet, so, and I hope it never happens. But if a guest didn't have a good time, and they left and didn't tell me, what am I gonna do?
What good is it?
What good is it? What good is it?
You wasted an hour.
You wasted an hour. There was no learning from that.
Right.
I mean, surely if you were unhappy, maybe I'm probably unhappy at that point. But what's the point of you coming on here? You're telling your story, your everything, and if there wasn't a thing that we didn't get to that you wanted to get to, say something.
Say something.
Say something about it.
That thing under your nose, man. That's what.
Oh my god, that's another thing. I bought a new pair of jeans once, and
jeans?
I forgot a sticker. And I went out to tell us, and I had that sticker on my butt all night. No one told you. Yeah. Except when when everyone was all drunk. Hey, you got a sticker on your butt.
That's when people become honest.
Yeah, right. Late at night, it's like, why didn't anybody?
Why has this guy got that on his ass?
Why didn't anybody tell me I got a sticker on my butt?
Listen, I always tell my friends, if I got a booger hanging from my nose, please tell me, man.
Yeah.
That's a friend.
Yeah, right. I mean, I understand, like, oh, he's got a sticker on his butt. but also,
Exactly. I know where you're coming from.
But if you have a bad experience with a musician, with a stage manager, with a booking agency, with a venue, make sure they know about it.
Yeah. And listen, and you might not get the answer you like.
That's okay.
But at least you told them. At least they heard it from you and not Harry down the road.
Yeah, because it is infinitely worse if they hear it from somebody else as opposed to you.
Yes.
Infinitely worse, because then they're going to say, oh, you're a gossiper, or blah, 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 blah.
Well, then they can't trust you.
Yeah, then they can't trust you.
That's
exactly.
a trust issue.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hire anyone I can't trust.
Right.
Or I'm not going to be around anyone, in
I'm
my band I can't trust.
Yeah, you're not going to support anybody.
No, I'm not going to hire you for a festival. If you came in last year acting like a fool, you think I'm going to bring you back?
And if you apologize, that's one thing, right?
Hey, listen, if you man up, that's all I ask.
Yeah, that's literally
you don't have to do anything else. You go, hey, man, I messed up. We're done.
Yeah, that's it. That's all.
It's a clean slate.
And people don't realize that that's kind of how it is in the music industry anyway. If you if you haven't act a fool in the music industry, you'll get there. Because it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And that's something you really can't avoid being in the music industry.
Right. And stupid stuff's going to happen. You're going to look silly.
You're going to unplug your friends.
Yeah, you're going to unplug your friend in the middle of a guitar solo.
The mic stand's going to fall over.
And you stand there, hold the plug, and go, I did it.
That's my bad.
I did it.
That's on me.
Right? I did it.
Something else is going to happen. Someone's going to, I have heard some really funny stories on this show of people throwing up mid set and they got to clean it up. Mic stand falls over and almost hits somebody.
I'm afraid of that, man. Because they do have gig insurance. I don't have it.
Right. Well, stuff happens, and you got to own up to it and be like, yeah, that's my bad. It won't happen again. Promise you that.
Right.
And that's another thing. You got to keep on your promise.
You won't see me standing behind you with the plug in my hand no more.
Yeah, because once you make that mistake.
It happens once.
It only happens once. Really funny story about, did you see my episode of Daryl Davis?
Yes.
This is one of the worst mistakes I've ever made on the show so far. Was I went down there and I when he said, "Oh, come to my house," I was like, "Okay, sure," and he invited me out to his house to do it, and and I was like, "Okay, I don't have a mobile set, but I'll figure it out." Because that's another thing I learned. It's like, okay, that I feel like that's an opportunity where you just say yes and figure it out,
Yes.
right?
Never say no.
Never say no. Yeah, unless you absolutely cannot.
Yes.
Yeah,
But if there's a way,
there's a way.
you'll figure it out.
Yeah, and that's what I was like. I was like, I can't miss up an opportunity with Daryl Davis, because he probably doesn't have one of these opportunities, and I was right. So I gather up all my equipment, all my stuff from home, and I leave, and like 15 minutes out, I'm like, I think I'm forgetting something, and so I double check, and I'm like, no, I'm good, okay. And guess what I forgot? I forgot the power cord to my computer.
The main thing.
The main thing that no one else could ever possibly. Like,
Right.
If I
and
forgot,
who can't replace it?
I was gonna say if I had like an XLR, no big deal.
Right.
If I missed a
Power
quarter
cord?
inch, no problem. Even a microphone. He's Daryl Davis. He probably has a
He's got
microphone.
it.
He's got it right. The main thing that I needed was that power cord to my Macintosh, and I didn't have it. And but thankfully he was. I biggest shout out to him. He's a really great nice guy, and let me use his laptop.
I dig that.
Yeah, he let me use his personal laptop.
And that goes to show where it's not like, you don't know what you're doing. Get out of here. Let me help you.
Yeah, because he, him at his stage, he can just say, "Well, you blew it, kid.
Yep.
Run
Sorry.
away, go away."
I don't have time
Yeah, he could have pulled up the ladder right up behind him and said, "See you, kid,"
about it.
and he didn't. That's another thing I want to encourage other musicians is because someone messes up doesn't mean you.
And you know what, man? Walk up to somebody. They know better than you.
Yeah.
Just walk up to them and ask them what you want to ask them. No matter what level of music they are. Just walk up. Oh, what are you going to say? No?
Right. What does Nardwald do? Have you seen Nardwald?
No.
He's a crazy. He's a. I won't say a lunatic, but he's a lunatic. He's a crazy guy that walks up and asks crazy questions that only they would know.
Okay.
He's like, and all the musicians are like, what? How do you know that? Like he asked, that one time in high school when you did this and that, and they're like, wait, who are you?
Whoa.
He like ultra researches.
What is this on YouTube?
Yeah, Nardwar.
Throw me
Yeah,
that.
it's very funny. But it's just go up there and ask him, and don't be afraid to own up to your mistakes, and then make those mistakes. Don't.
Hey, look, man,
Yeah.
I ran into Magic Dick, who was the harmonica player for the Jay Giles band, who I told you back when I was 15 years old. When I heard him play, I'm like, I want to learn that. So he was out at the Roots and Blues. He had his own little thing going on with this other guitar player, and it was at the Village. And I'm like, I have people sign my harp case. I have James Cotton. I have a bunch of people. Anyway, I want Magic Dick's. Oh my, yeah.
Nope.
Wouldn't do it.
That's okay.
Wouldn't do it.
But you asked,
I asked.
and that's
I walked up and said, yo, Dickie, can you do my...
No.
He was
That's
having
okay.
an argument with his wife, so it probably was a really bad time.
But still, you still went up
But
and
you know
asked.
what? You go up and ask. All they could say is no.
Yeah. If I was scared to ask people to come on this podcast, you know how many people I would have on this podcast?
Yeah, we would be watching nothing.
We would be watching nothing. I wouldn't have had Daryl Davis. I wouldn't have had
Right.
members of Snarky Puppy.
And just look where this might go.
Yeah,
you don't
exactly.
even know where
I
this is
I don't
headed.
know where this is going.
But keep it up.
Yeah, and all I got to do is just keep going.
Right.
And people don't realize this, but in the music industry, you are investing for a later return. It's not
Exactly.
This is a long process. I know some people who have been at this in 10 years, and they got really, really good stuff, and they're about to quit. But you got to keep going. This is a high risk,
Very much.
but high reward at the end.
Exactly. And you know what? And you got to have the set of mind. Like, I know what MOE Blues is.
Right, yes.
We're Lancaster. Listen, man, that's what we are.
Yeah, and there's no sense saying, "Oh, I'm going to go." Just
We're
know
having
what
fun.
you are. Yeah,
Have fun.
yeah.
I don't look to be in the Fillmore. I'm never going to play that. I'm never going to be seen to do something like that. Have fun where you're at.
Yeah.
Have fun where you're at.
Know where you
You
are.
know, Don't ridicule the next guy. Have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Have fun where you're at. Listen, we might not be the 5 best musicians that ever played their instrument, but together, collectively, you can see we have a lot of fun on that stage,
And it's a great show.
and that translates to the crowd, and that's
Yeah.
all. And that's all you need.
Yeah,
I mean, you need to be good.
To a certain extent,
you need to
yeah.
be good, right? But I'm not the best.
Right.
I'll never be the best. There's Louis Bechtold. I mean, them guys, they're hard players.
Yeah.
I get up and I jump around and and I have fun. But I think that translates to see the band is having a good time. We're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
If I just stood there, that'd be pretty darn boring.
Yeah, if you're, I don't mean to call out classical musicians, but if you're there
But
up and tight,
I'm not
yeah,
playing that type of music.
You're not playing that type of music.
Right.
Well, even then, if you get up and dance around, then people are gonna love it.
Listen, I'm all about. I tell my band before every show, energy. That's the one word I use. Energy. Show them energy.
Turn it on. Yep.
Loud and energy. If you give them that, they will respond, and that's what we found in the 7 years we've been doing it.
Man,
That's a fast hour, man.
it is a fast hour. Holy cow. Who are you listening to now? If 3 top artists that you can recommend.
Goose, My Morning Jacket, War on Drugs.
That was fast.
Love the 3 of them.
Really?
Just got turned on to Goose not too long ago. I can't stop listening to them. My Morning Jacket's probably been my best band for like the last 20 years. War on Drugs, excellent Philly band. Really good. They're the 3 I'm listening to, like on a track. Like,
really?
It's all. Listen, I'm very fortunate at work to work by myself and be able to blare music. And this is what's blaring out of the warehouse right now is Goose. They do it. Listen, Animal House, Shamalama Ding Dong by Otis Day and the Nights. Right, one of my favorite songs on that movie. Goose does a version of it. I just got turned on to it last week. Fantastic. But I'm a big My Morning Jacket fan. Big. I don't know if you know who that. Oh.
Well, that's why I ask people, because I don't know nothing.
Yeah, check them 3 bands out. Goose is they're like a jam band out of Connecticut. They're coming into the Met in March. I tried to get tickets to them. They sold out both dates. I mean, like, they're selling out everywhere.
That's cool.
Yeah, and War on Drugs, I love. They are, if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan, go Birds.
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah.
Ooh, Corey, you have no idea. But some of the Eagles did a Christmas album, and Charlie Hall from War on Drugs directed the whole thing.
That's cool.
Yeah. So there's some really cool video on YouTube about that too, man.
Can't say I'm as excited to see the Birds in the Super Bowl.
No, come on, man.
I'm a Steelers fan.
Yo, go Birds. EAGLES.
Who are they up against? I don't follow
Kansas
football.
City.
Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
They finally got into the Super Bowl.
They're there again. They've been there. They've been the hot team.
Oh, well, I know. Like, for the past, like,
but
5
up
or so
until
years.
tomorrow, I'll be at a parade on Thursday. I'll be at Broad and Patterson for all my Philly friends. I'll be at Broad and Patterson about 8 o'clock in the morning Thursday.
That's
when
funny.
we win.
That's so funny. Well, this has been
Awesome,
the Story
Corey.
Podcast. Yeah, this has been really great.
I'll tell you what, man, I could jump around on stage and act like a nut and have no problem. I walked in here, I was so nervous, man. You know, when
How
you're
you feel
talking
now?
one, great,
There you go.
great. Ready for a Birds win.
With all that said, you can find Kevin Gannon at Musicians Bedside Manor on Facebook. That link will be in the description. And this is the Story Podcast. My name is Corey Rosen. You can find us at CoreyRosenProductions.com. That's CORYROSEN Productions.com. You can find out more about me, the work I do as a music composer and just a person. And you can find out more about our episodes and where you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, etc., etc. And tomorrow, right before the Super Bowl, we're going to be having on a super awesome guest from local PA. He's a CPMA nominee this year. Cody Ross he's a country musician from around here. And this Thursday, I have another great friend, Liam Galliano.
Love Liam.
I haven't had him on. He was one of the first few that were on this show.
He just went to Memphis.
They did
They represented Lancaster.
with Ben Brandt.
Yes, they did.
Ben Brandt Soul Miners Union.
Yeah, they represented Lancaster down there in the blues contest.
Yeah, and we're gonna be talking about that, and he really wants to get into bass guitar.
Love him.
So we're gonna get down into bass guitar.
Hey, shout out to Beverly Reed. Tomorrow's her birthday. Love you, Bev.
And with all that said, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you guys later. Bye.
Later.